She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cock-a-crow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cock-a-crow, dog-a-bark, donkey bray, horse and neigh, even duck-a-quack. Cock-a-crow, dog-a-bark, donkey bray, horse and neigh, even duck-a-quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. The naga jackass yard for fetchy load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side, a Rexy and Rover. From the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokonani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Banga Mary. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. Them children glad when the weekend come. Out in the yard, them all gather round. Some a play catcher, some making house from straw. Two who come later, a grandma or grandpa. All a sit down just a wait. Moonlight so bright, it's just the right time to listen story or to say a little nursery rhyme. Grandpa voice a echo in the night as he tell some picnic a there with fright. Oh Ligan, Mungeza, Massa Kurman Nancy, even Watamuma. Oh Ligan, Moongazer, Massa Kurman Nancy, even Watamuma. Yeah man, that's the true story that tell the people about life in the country, life in the country.
Greetings and welcome. I bid you shalom, as I would say to those of you who are saints. Welcome to this broadcast. Of course, I'm sitting in the stead of Mr. Mark Benchchop. It is always a privilege. It is always a pleasure. It is a distinct honor of mine to be able to do this. Whenever I'm asked, I try to make every effort, regardless of how tough a day I may have had or may be having, because I understand the significance of engaging the society here in Guyana. Those of you on 107.1 FM, I am certainly overjoyed to have the opportunity to speak to you, to share with you. And I would never try to be who Mr. Benchchop is. I do not think that I can attain to such. In reference to his ability to engage you, his audience, and to speak to you as only he can. What I would try to do, though, always is to be as candid and as forthright as he normally is. I welcome you, welcome all of you, and I would encourage you, if you can, to share this broadcast with someone to inform them that we're here. And we are live. Yes. Fortunately, you're able to have a platform in which you can share your views. You can speak to those views via typing, of course, but you can do so with the confidence that there is a forum for Guyanese to have a discussion, for Guyanese to have interactions, for Guyanese to exhibit or to express themselves in a manner that should not have fear attached to it. Permit me this evening, as I sit with you, to engage you, as you see from the topic. We're dealing with the administration's inability, the PPP civics administration's inability to deal with this COVID-19 situation in our country. It is out of control. And instead of doing the honorable thing, which is to resign, as many other ministers of health would have done across the Caribbean and maybe the world, secretaries in the US and so on, Frank Anthony has sought to mount the defense for his actions and even to seek to criticize Valda Lawrence. So we shall speak to that matter this evening. I wish I would have been able to say to you that I'm impressed by Frank Anthony's decision-making, that I'm encouraged by Premanik Chand's assertions and decision-making as Minister of Education, but I cannot say that. And I would not say that in order to appear to be kind. I have to say the truth. We must be mature enough to speak the truth to all Guyanese and to each other, even if it's offensive. As long as it is the truth, it has to be broached. It has to be raised. It has to be presented. I, among other Guyanese, am certainly disheartened by the way this administration is handling the situation. I've said that from the beginning, from the moment when Frank Anthony, through Leslie Ramsamy, would have said that if we do not take a jab, a vaccine as they described it, then we have to face consequences. And he spoke that language regardless of our age. I am a 47-year-old man. I'm a father. To some extent, I'm a grandfather if we consider those who consider me fathers, a father to them. How can I, as a 47-year-old grown man, have Frank Anthony or anybody else tell me that I will have to face consequences if I do not take something into my body that he says I have to have? And the consequences that he said I were to face and others included us being unable to, if they really enforce across the board, to even get food to eat from supermarkets and grocery stores and anywhere as far as he's concerned, any business facility. They include that us being unable to access our money from banking institutions across this nation. They include, if you only buy bottled water from a store, you will not even have water to drink. And Frank Anthony saw nothing wrong with that behavior. Additionally, let's not forget that when he made this assertion and this declaration, COVID-19 PCR tests, they cost 25,000 Guyana dollars. And this man saw nothing wrong with asking a pensioner whose pension was $25,000 to pay $25,000 to go to get a pension. And if they had to go to any other government facility or in a supermarket to purchase their food, they had to find another $25,000 for PCR tests if they were unvaccinated. Frank Anthony saw nothing wrong with that. Instead, he continued to defend the indefensible. So, as is expected, we are here. But this evening, I want to spend a moment with you Guyanese people. I want to spend a moment with you who are home, those of you who live abroad, as they say, in the diaspora. Permit me to engage you, especially those of you at home, to seek permit me to engage you, to somehow inspire you if I can, to develop that which is apparently a lost trait, but it has to be resurrected. It has to be found. If it's dead, it must be resurrected. If it's lost, it must be found. You should never, as adults in this country, let our nation slip into the mode it's progressing in. There's so many reports that are reaching me, that are reaching other social commentators, that are reaching social activists, human rights activists. And these reports are from employees of various institutions who are being compelled to work in an environment that Frank Anthony declares to be, I would have said to be, dangerous to their health. Frank Anthony is acknowledging, as he rightly should, that there is a pandemic. There is a disease that's affecting the entire world. Frank Anthony, based on his policies in the gazetted order, is seeking to convince us that the COVID-19 situation is so perilous, it is so dangerous, it is so life-threatening that even our access to our money stands to be affected, as it still is, if we do not take what he said is a vaccine and others is a vaccine, or if we do not pay initially $25,000 for PCR tests, it's down now to $15,000. Now, if he says that this thing is so dangerous, it's so terrible, that it costs you your job in some instances, why are we seeing individuals being made to work under situations or conditions that are threatening to their health? There's something called the Occupational Health and Safety Act in Guyana. You cannot expose employees to dangerous and risky situations. One of the most prominent in the news would be the GTU's challenge to the Ministry of Education and their request to seek to not have schools across this country reopened because of the danger that our children face and our teachers face. Did Priya Manik Chand take a second to even engage the parents across the nation, to engage us in any conversation to seek to have guidance as to how we feel about it? No, she didn't. Did she seek to engage the department, the Guyana Teaching Executive, for them to say whether they are in agreement? They had a conversation Friday before school reopened on Monday, and in that conversation, she refused to adhere to what they were saying. Now, this is what I want to say to you, or speak to you regarding this lost trait that has to be found. In order for you to be employed in this country, and let's have a very solemn conversation this evening, please, because some of the news that got to me they're disturbing, to say the least, very troubling. So let's have a very somber conversation. You're an adult. In order for you to be employed in any part of this country, legally that is, to teach in a school, to be employed at insurance agencies and banks and so on, you're expected to be at least 18 years old, at least. If you're an adult, how can you tell me that you are fine with or prepared to allow an individual like Frank Anthony, allow one like Priya Manik Chand, like Joseph Hamilton and those people, to make you enter a job site, enter a place of employment, knowing that your colleagues would have tested positive for the COVID-19 or for COVID-19 or the SARS-CoV-2 virus. In some cases, they were displaying symptoms of having the ailment. In other cases, when they tested positive, everybody found out they're positive, many people did. They're supposed to be at home, according to protocols, but your employer is deciding that he or she, or the company, the administrators of the company, you have to come to work the following day, as in the case of some teachers, or within a few hours. And in the most recent, We're hearing that at GTM, for example, people are displaying symptoms, persons are positive, and they are expecting the staff to be at work. Guyanese brothers and sisters, enemies and even my friends, something is wrong with us. If we're going to know that these things are happening, and for fear of victimization, that's a big word we're going to use this evening, maybe pretty often. And that's what I want to speak to us about. For fear of victimization, Guyanese are endangering their health and that of their loved ones. You do not want to be victimized by your employers. Teachers do not want to be victimized by regional education officers and pre-management and those in Ministry of Education. Private sector employees, others do not want to be victimized. And this word about being victimized is ringing a bell or being alarming throughout our society. And we have to stop. We have to pause to find out what has caused us to get to this place. Under this administration, yes, let's have the conversation. Feel free to accuse me of being politicized all you want to. Let's have the conversation. What has gone wrong in this society that has caused our people, adults, to be so fearful of victimization that they are prepared to endanger their lives? I saw in the news that Frank Anthony, in speaking to reporters, acknowledged that there were about 38,000 positive cases in the month. 30,000. And there are more than 12,000 active cases. Active. 12,000 plus people in this country now are having an infectious disease that Frank Anthony said is deadly, dangerous, highly infectious. And he likes to speak about comorbidities and underlying conditions and all the rest of it. Our children, 4 of them have died in this month. One of them you saw in Mabruma, I think it was. I think it's Mabruma, Port Kaituma, maybe Mabruma, where a father had to carry a dead child on his shoulder, walking the street. How much more disgusting and disgraceful can this be? A father, here it is on your screen. I want you to have a picture of this. And if you're a father, think of yourself in this position. You are carrying an infant on your shoulder because the government of Guyana has failed you. And Frank Anthony today said that that is not how we do things. There was a miscommunication, a misunderstanding somewhere along the line. Look at this situation. How did we get here? How did we arrive at such a disgusting and disgraceful place under this administration? Now, how can Frank Anthony seek to defend his handling of the COVID-19 situation with an image of this nature? A father carrying a dead child on his shoulder, walking down the street of an interior location. Oh, they have high regard for Amerindians and for native people? And this is how you treat them? Here you have another situation. Relatives, these have to travel, had to go even further. Miles they had to carry this dead body. When there's supposed to be vehicles available to transport the dead. This caring government, as they describe themselves, this is what we have to deal with. And Frank Anthony has offered, as I said he would do at some point, an apology, not a resignation. Frank Anthony has gone the route of an apology. He's sorry for the family had to go through. Is this what we get? Not a resignation, an apology, not a proper explanation, followed by a resignation. He's sorry. It's unfortunate that this had to happen. But in an oil-rich nation, in a nation where Irfan Ali speaks to one Guyana, in a nation in which he tried to sell us an idea that it is all well under their leadership. You see a father carrying a dead child on his shoulder in a garbage bag. What is wrong with our country? And where is the national outcry for this foolish, against this nonsense? That's what I'm telling you about the victimization here again. Guyanese, we would not get better if under any government, any administration, your posture is that you don't want anybody to threaten your job, your family, or your personal well-being. Hence, you shall refrain from being in the forefront, and you shall not say anything. This is not about ethnicity. This is about Guyanese people. And if you can't get your mind out of the gutter to understand what's before you, you have worse to receive. There is no way in 2022 that you should see a father carrying a dead child on his shoulder, and a government in Georgetown is boasting about how effective they are. Something is wrong with us as a people. What is worse is you should not hear the deafening silence about this nonsense. The police officers know what they have to do. The hospital know what they have to do. But nobody can communicate fast enough to get their child to the burial ground, to the cemetery. This family knows there's a vehicle available for them to carry their loved one. It's not available in this case. And Frank Anthony could offer you an explanation. That's why I call him and Priya ministers of explanations, not health and education. They are ministers of explanation. They could explain everything away. And we are allowing them to do this nonsense. Look at this man. There are people in this administration to whom I would never refer as honorable, and he's one of them. There is nothing honorable about such a person. The honorable thing to do is to resign. That's another one. What's honorable about Priya Manager? Even if I were a member of parliament, I would not call her honorable. I prefer to be suspended than speaking to them and Joseph Hamilton and these people as being honorable. How could it be honorable for Priya to say that schools are prepared to be reopened? And then today in the news she's saying that they're going to try to add furniture because 2 and 3 children are sitting in one bench. Hold on a second. On the 18th and 19th of January, school was reopened on the 3rd of January. And 16 days later is when the Ministry of Education is acknowledging that there's a situation in hand that's unhealthy, dangerous. And Priya is now saying that she is going to, or the ministry shall, seek to add furniture. Let me inform you while I'm at it. I was privy to a meeting here in Linden, in Region 10 where I am. The number one, the top school, a sixth form school, Mackenzie High School, my alma mater. I was invited by a parent to listen to this meeting, recently held. Last week, I think it was, or so. And can you imagine that under this administration, school is reopened, and the principal acting and others have to ask parents if they can provide furniture or help with furniture, help with sanitizing a school? Let me take it deeper to y'all in Georgetown, then the creme de la creme. The Queen's College, as it's called, my daughter's school. You are asking me, when school is opened, if I and other parents can contribute to sanitizing, to getting sanitizers and so on for the school? Are we out of our minds in this country? The government has boasted of having 40+% economic boom in this country. They boasted about how much is money floating in the oil sector, and there's so much to be had. Sugarcane workers could get $250,000 plus 7%. Don't miss that. Tax-free, $250,000, $250,000. The president got an increase. All parliamentarians got an increase. And then you're telling me, as a parent of the Queen's College, a child in the Queen's College, that if I can contribute to getting sanitizers and so on, well, let me tell you why I respond to them. Priya needs to find it. Because if she's going to cite the CDC and say that in the USA, there's the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC said, and she's citing all these foreign nations, nobody in the USA has asked a parent to contribute sanitize the classroom. They are giving the children PCR tests for free, antigen tests rather. Students in these schools and in Canada are given free rapid tests to go home with for them and their families to test themselves. In Guyana, it's being sold for $4,000 and $3,000. In the USA, that Priya Manikchand is referencing, it is free for children. And they could ask me if I can contribute to buying hand sanitizers. I must be a madman. And to all of you parents who do this, you are atrocious. And you are a contributor to the issue. The Ministry of Education cannot say the schools are prepared to be open and then ask me for sanitizer. What manner of asininity is that? How much more foolish can we be? You are prepared. I'm not apologizing for being upset. I am mad. How can you tell me, as a father, that you are prepared for my child to go into an environment where the most rampant period of infections are occurring? You prepared. You prepared. Schools are ready. And then you're asking me to give you hand sanitizer for the school. But you don't understand, apparently, that we are our worst enemy. We are causing the problem. Well, not we. Those of you who are contributing to this nonsense because you want to appear to be a helpful parent and you want to appear to be understanding. Let me segue for a second here while I can, because this may tie into what helping to understand what's happening here. In the out-of-control administration, the president of Guyana, and this is a big talking point, took to the streets of Georgetown to clean the streets. He took the Guyana Defense Force personnel. He took people from the Guyana Police Force. He had members of the private sector as a business if they want to go there. Even those from the diplomatic corps, I think, were there. And Guyanese, many of you are cheering this in the capital city as if it's a good initiative. Let me segue here to tell you how out of control these people are. That's the president. Of course, it's a rake in the wrong position. And there's a cameraman behind there. You can see the cameraman in the background taking a shot. And they're cleaning the city. Let me ask you Guyanese who subscribe to this nonsense some very simple questions for you to get my unbiased review of this matter. Do you understand there's something called a municipal act, a law? A law. And according to the law, every township, and Guyana only has one city, every town and the city of Guyana, Little Georgetown, has to be cleaned by the municipality. That is the law. That's why you pay what are called rates and taxes for the municipality, for the mayor and city council, in Georgetown's case, to clean the city. This unruly group, if you don't know, would have decided that they're going to bypass, they're going to circumvent, circumnavigate, go around the mayor and city council and go to the street. So here's my question for you all who applaud this foolishness. Would Irfan Ali and the same team be cleaning these environments every day? Because it has to be cleaned every day. You can mount 7 million cameras You have to clean the city every day. And the cleaning of any city, when I lived in the USA, when I lived in the Bahamas, it was done by the municipality because that's their job. Now, instead of paying 10,000 Guyanese a consistent wage, or 5,000 Guyanese, or 3,000 Guyanese, a consistent wage to maintain these wards, the president goes out for a photo op. Well, I expect to see him there every day or every weekend then. Because if you want to bypass what is legal, then you need to do it every week. It's that simple. Since there is a law, but I'm saying to you, they have bypassed the law. Back to education. Pre-Malik Chan knows there's a law, by Frank Anthony that is, that you should be socially distanced or physically distanced in the school. That's an order, by the way. What did she do? Bypass it, circumvent it, went around it, forget about it, and put your child in a school where 2 and 3 on a bench, and then tell you on the 19th of January that they're now prepared to consider having extra furniture. So what happens to these children? So many of them who were tested positive. There's a proof on my screen. Self-test at home in 15 minutes. Look. That's not Guyana, by the way. That's not Guyana. That is not our beautiful Guyana who the PPP Civic says is being governed so well. And Frank Anthony can decide that he's going to compare himself to Valdo Lawrence. And said that when the Valdo Lawrence was Minister of Health, that only 5 PCR tests are being done every day. But now that he's in, they do maybe sometimes 2,000 tests per day. So he's suggesting here, and they did it before, that the high number of positive cases you're seeing is because of testing. If Ali said that too, right? But you see, apparently with this administration, common sense evades them after they make statements that may be true. Because if you have a higher percentage of positive cases, then your response should be more responsible. It should be wiser. It should be more aggressive, because you're realizing here that, let's say what you say is true. On the Valdo Lawrence, because I expect to be privy to that information, 5 tests are being done. So if 5 tests are being done, then you don't have a wide enough range of information to work with. So Valdo was reckless. No problem, fine. Now here you are, Frank, the Minister of Explanation, Yun Priya. You telling us that you know that there are 2,000 tests being done, that's an average. So you have many more positives. What do you do about it? 1, you adjusted curfew from 6 all the way now to 12:30 in the morning, to 12 o'clock, 12 a.m., 4 hours. It makes perfect sense to you, sir, to have this much information available to you. 38,000 people positive, 12,000 active in 1 month, and it makes sense to you to leave this country as it is. But Guyanese brothers and sisters, when you say that you are afraid to be victimized, when you say that you are afraid to be victimized by an administration, you are testifying to their detriment, because you're saying that they are not actually caring people. They're quite uncaring. You are suspicious of their intention toward you. When you say that because your fellow colleagues are tested and you have to go to work, still something is wrong. I see a comment on the screen. Good night, Ms. Lana. What about the new sign that was erected in Linden that is already falling to pieces? Wondering how much taxpayers' money was spent. Some kind of investigation should be done. I don't think that was taxpayers' money. I think there was, oh yeah, there may have been a grant given to the Mayor and Town Council. I don't know of any consultation with the community as to what should have been done with the signage, but there was a request by the mayor for us to suggest what should be done with $3+ million, and then the sign was a part of it. I'm hearing it was a donation from GT&T. We'll get to the bottom of that at some point. But if GT&T donated it, then there's no taxpayer to investigate anything. If it were not donated by GT&T and it would have been taxpayers' money spent, obviously there should be an investigation launched into that signage. My issue as well is where the sign is positioned. And because of geography here, I won't speak too much to it, but it's not in a very busy part of Linden. And a sign like that should be in a place whereby many people can see it, since it's supposed to be eye-catching. But that is another story. Headed back to this discussion about Frank Anthony. And if you don't mind, please share the broadcast. If you're on Facebook, share this broadcast so that they can hear that there's somebody and other people in the country who are displeased about their behavior. Frank Anthony is saying that because they've tested more people, they have more positive results. Hence, he's better performing than Valder Lawrence. Because Frank, in his mind, once you get results from the test you did, then maybe that's performance. He's not speaking to the fact that he adjusted curfew hours in reference to giving us a window from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the most infectious period, in the deadliest period in this country. Frank Anthony sat and said, without sending any tests to CARFA, the Caribbean Public Health Authority, Frank Anthony said that he suspects that Delta is here. And he doesn't have to send any blood samples to Trinidad to prove that, because it is what it is. I quote what he said, it is what it is. In other words, whatever is, if you're getting sick from something, it's Delta. If it's not Delta, it doesn't matter. That's the kind of wanton, disrespectful, reckless minister of health that we have in this country, who can defend his position. Frank Anthony, unlike Valder Lawrence, has not shut this country down for 20 minutes. Valder said for 2 weeks, we're going to shut ourselves in, because it was suggested to her by me and other people, apparently, that listen, your healthcare system cannot accommodate 50 sick people. There wasn't 10, there were not 10 functional ventilators in this country at the time. So there's no way that you can have a respiratory infection or respiratory tract disease that's so infectious and deadly and leave the country open without having the facility to deal with sick people. Now we're hearing that at Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, over 150 staff members were sick. Leslie Ramsamy said things are under control. So it seems as though under this administration, when things are in disorder, that's what is considered to be under control, because I cannot fathom that such a large section of your staff can be ill and they are already understaffed and they're saying it's under control. We don't have a problem. Yet you have reports that people on the night shift, for example, some wards have no attendance. I must reiterate, in case you missed it as well, that in some institutions, some businesses, I got a report about GTM. I have reports about the Mackenzie Primary School. Many parents have reported that their teachers who were sick. I got reports that the principal of that school is not doing what is expected. Now, she's free to defend herself. I'm saying what the report is. From within the institution, there's students in Mackenzie Primary School who are ill. What is frightening, and I'll do a broadcast about that as well, probably in the morning, Yahweh willing, is that education officials would have sent a letter, and this seems to be a new culture under this administration, threatening disciplinary action will be taken against anyone who missed school when the GTU said, okay, then it would be a day for isolation, without an excuse. Because that official in Linden, and I share that letter with you all publicly, that official said that she's quoting statistics here now, that of the 130-something thousand children in this country, only 0.5% of them tested positive, or 0.05. And of the 44 or so, 19,000 teachers, I think she quoted, those teachers, only 1% tested positive. And based on that, Pre-Manichan and others opened the school. Did we forget? Did we forget that people were at home for almost 2 years? So was the Ministry of Education testing students randomly or consistently for 2 years to arrive at this figure? Do you see how stupid? I cannot find another term to use. Can you see how stupid decision makers are now in this country? Why are they doing that? Because we are letting them do it. You who are quiet, you teachers and others who decide that you're going to go to work because you fear victimization. I promise you all, I'll use the word often tonight because it's the word you have to get over. You have to beat this concept. So for 2 years, the Ministry of Education has not tested a single person on campus. None that I know of. We're in our second year of this pandemic, just about the end of the second year. And the Ministry of Education can issue a statement to say that out of the 100,000+ students, only 0.05% of them tested positive. No, reported. You cannot say they tested positive because they were at home. So you do not know what happened to our children. So the test you're referring to has to be from those people who were so ill that they had to go to the hospital. But there is no testing of our children. Our education officials are becoming more and more daft because, don't forget that, if you function under an individual who is very asinine in our general deportment, what do you expect them to do? And go ahead, charge me for some cybercrime then. I'm expressing my view here. Based on science, based on basic science, Priya Manik Chand is most asinine in her reasoning. For example, when she cited partially the CDC to say that in the USA, of course, again, the Center for Disease Control said that, according to Priya Manik Chand, children hardly ever contract the infection, the disease at school. Can you believe a minister of education can make such a statement or repeat it without inquiring about the whole? I could not believe what I read, that Priya to justify opening schools in Guyana, South America, a country deemed a third world nation based on development and economics. Priya said that according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, children hardly get infected at school. So hold on a minute. If they're infected at home, at the supermarket, at the movie theater, at the mall, or at school, does it change the fact, Madam Minister of Education, that they are infected with a disease that your Frank Anthony said is deadly, dangerous, hazardous to our health, to the extent that we cannot go to a bank to get our money if we don't have a PCR test and a vaccine or a vaccine? Hold on. So where the child is infected is more important than whether the child is infected? And how can you, Priya Manik Chand, suggest to echo such a statement without citing the entire reference? The CDC said that based on some very basic principles. One, they make it almost mandatory to test children frequently in the school, Priya. Do you do that? Do you do that? Do you test our children often, 2-3 times a week if possible? So they, before the child can even spend much time in the school, they are tested. Again, you see on the screen that they present the children with personal kits for testing at home. They give that to students. Every student is given a personal kit to test themselves, and their loved ones can be tested too. Do you do that, Priya? The CDC also mandated that the teachers and other staff members must be tested frequently before they get into the school system. Do you do that? So with that in mind, they also identify the fact that the environment must not be conducive for the spreading of an infection. Do you do that, Priya? You have 2 and 3 people sitting in one little bench that's 3+ feet wide, and you have the audacity to say that the Center for Disease Control in the USA said that students don't normally contract the virus at school in the USA. I submit to you that I cannot blame Priya Manichan alone, because parents should have common sense. You should know that this is destructive. Guyanese, we have to arise. The people's movement, the people move the country. The people of this nation must get back up, and in the words of Mr. Benstrap, boots on the ground, as he normally says. The people's movement includes all Guyanese with sense. I don't care which part you're from. That's what we're about here. We are Guyanese with sense to know that certain things we are not going to accept. That's what this is about. We're going to call things what they are. If you do good, you're complimented. If you do wrong, you're supposed to be chastised. We are unafraid of political leaders. What is happening to us in this country? Why must staff at the GTM, the insurance place, say that some of their colleagues are ill and they have to go to work? Why must teachers say, and it's such a sad state, it's so painful, that a teacher in Linden, of course, is forced to go to school. She went to school. When I kept telling you all, do not do this. Do not go. It is dangerous. Do not go. The teacher went. That teacher has a child. The teacher contracted the virus after going to school. The teacher's child contracted the virus. Obviously, the teacher has a sister, a relative, who doesn't teach, but because her relative went to work to teach, her relative contracted the virus in Linden at the school. The child contracted the virus. That relative who doesn't teach, I told her that, because it doesn't seem as if you'll understand, Frank Anthony understands, that an infectious disease isn't confined to a location to say, oh, I would not cross the school fence. So if you contract this disease in the school, COVID-19 doesn't say, or SARS-CoV-2 doesn't say, I would not follow you home. I'll leave it at the school. That teacher went home. The sister got infected. And the sister died this week. How do you think that teacher would feel to know that she got to the school because Priya said that there'll be no more online classes? So when there was a drastic, the most infectious period, which is January, ever in this country's history with this pandemic, Priya said, forget it. There's no online teaching anymore. That is a vindictive statement. It is a destructive statement. Her mission is not to educate your child. Her mission is not to inform your child in a learning environment. Her mission is to say that if she says school's open, it opens. And if you don't go to work, then there's nothing for your child to learn. That's the nature of the person you're dealing with. And I like that image. I like the picture because it brings back so many memories. Remember what happened in Parliament? When they were screaming and shoving police officers and grabbing them by the shirt. That's the environment right there. I am Guyanese. I am disgusted by the nature displayed. And I'm not saying behavior. I'm saying the nature displayed by this administration, because this comes naturally to these people. I would like to think that if you have a spike, such a drastic increase in cases, you would immediately say, hey, something is wrong here. More than that, during this Omicron surge, more children are getting ill. I would like to think that you would understand that if children are getting ill, then children should not be at school. But Joseph Hamilton is one who said that if teachers do not go to school, they would not be paid because their actions, he has to investigate whether they are legal. Look at this. How can you call these people honorable? Under what circumstance? And I say to you all again, I will not support APNLC because nothing but them for me to support. I never support PPP Civic. This is not a political platform I'm on. This is a Guyanese platform I'm speaking to here. And whether you want to say that I am I'm APNLC or I'm PNC, I could not care less. I have an issue with the behavior of this administration because their behavior is wrong. How can you tell me that if I seek to protect myself through the advice of my union as a teacher, Joseph Hamilton, instead of saying that according to Occupational Health and Safety, the Act, the law, a teacher should not, no employee should be exposed to a hazardous situation. That's the law. But this Minister of Works, of Labor, they should give him works or something else to do, is prepared to defend the government's action rather than speak to the law. Joseph Hamilton did not make reference to the law to say that teachers or no one should be working in an unsafe environment. He always posits what defends the government because he doesn't understand what the function of the Minister of Labor is. His job is to ensure that the policies that surround labor in the law are adhered to, that the law is followed, and that policies are implemented in keeping with the law. But again, I say to you that this administration is proving daily to be reckless. They circumvent, they go around that which is legal, and they do what they want. Because Guyanese are not saying in great enough numbers that we are prepared to stop this. Instead of cheering the president for breaking grass, you're supposed to say to him, ensure that the mayor and city council get their money. That's what you should be saying. Not kudos to the president, because he would not be doing this every day. How often do you see in any country, since like to follow the USA, do you see the US Army, the Marines, or the Navy, or these people raking grass in the street and moving sand? I traveled to Georgetown yesterday, but I was most upset to see soldiers and police officers at Houston, at the side of the road, the four-lane highway, they call it, scooping sand into bags. These people in the police force are called law enforcement officers, not garbage collectors. And I'm not, this is no slight against garbage collectors here. I'm saying that the portfolio of Guyana Police Force is not to pick up garbage. If there is a disaster, then you call in the army to help with the cleanup. That's what happens in the USA. Like with the floods, you call them, they come to help you to clean the flood. But don't tell me that because the city doesn't look clean, you can call the military. The military. But I told you, soldiers, I still stand for y'all, but I told y'all that from the moment you see the sign, they tell you from way back when, that if you don't take a vaccine, you'll be dragged to school, you'll be taken out of this, you'll be pulled from this educational pursuit. I told y'all, if you as an army do not stand up in Ghana, in Sowe, and we ever said to them, not here, they will see you as weak and do anything to you. I told you that since last year. Now look at what you're dealing with. But I still have hope. I still have hope that all of you can one day open your eyes and see that this administration doesn't intend to respect you. I close by informing you that Frank Anthony says that unless you are sick, forget about going to the hospital for any PCR test. You're not getting it. You have to be sick enough. In other words, you must present enough symptoms for them to almost be dead sure, as they say, or de sure in our Ghanese vernacular. You must be certain that you're sick. Then they'll help you out. So what will happen therefore is people are not going to go paying $12,000 to getting tests or $15,000. So what you may likely have will be more people who may have mild symptoms and say we're not going anywhere. And they may have loved ones with underlying conditions, or they may have underlying conditions. But they say, if I go to the hospital, I will not be tested. So I'll just stay home. And then you have more deaths. Is that what we want, Frank? Is that how you manage a situation of this nature? My brothers and sisters, I plead with you, even my enemies have sense. And on a lighter note, or a better note, since the pandemic began, my daughter, there she is, she did some, and she had an initiative which was called Reading with Gina. And she would read stories when we were locked down for 2 weeks. She would try to entertain our children, and I'm so grateful for that. And across Guyana and the Caribbean, she was entertaining children with reading books for them and teaching them. Here she is, a wonderful initiative. She's sharing with you learning time with Gina. She's sharing with parents here who Priya may have shut out because she said you will not get online teaching here. My daughter has taken the initiative to help you parents, to help your children. That is what the London family is about. We are going to do whatever it takes to make a contribution to our society that's positive. Gina, as the children would call her, is going to provide services that I know are exemplary, because you can see it from here. She's helping you with sight words. If you don't know, her father was a teacher for 18 years. I no longer am, but her grandmother, her aunt, her uncle, so many of her families, even her grandfather, all of us would have been in the teaching profession. So she's from very good background stock, if I could say so myself. And let us support these young people. Such an initiative cannot go unnoticed. I thank the 107.1 FM staff. I thank Mr. Benchjob for understanding the importance of this situation. Here's my daughter, knowing that parents may have a challenge with their child at home. They cannot help the child. She has stepped in to do this. Let us support this young lady. She's in her 20s, by the way. Young lady. Let us support her. Some evening, I think she'll sit with Mr. Benchjob and tell you a bit more about this, so that you parents can understand the value of such an individual to our society. Follow her, as you could see, Learning with Gina. Grab that, follow her page, and on that page, you can find more and more help until she's able to sit with your child and your children in an environment where they can be engaged in the most excellent, most entertaining, and also educational environment. We look forward to that. And of course, you'll be aware of that, Mr. Benchop. I know would not have a problem in knowing, or advertising, I should say, when she starts this program. Hopefully, she'll be able to open a school in Guyana at some point. Hopefully. I would love to see that day as well. So, congratulations to you, and to all of you Guyanese. Please, somebody said her grandmother was a champion teacher, indeed. So you don't want to talk about her father? But hey, thank you. It was good spending this moment with you. Again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit here and this hour slot that Mr. Ben Chopper to be here. Let me also commend Samuel Haynes, top Cape students from Buxton, by the way. Take note of that. Remember, Charles Ramsey said we need positive role models. Well, look at that. From Buxton. All right. He's the top regional Cape student from the Queen's College, but he's from Buxton, as far as I'm aware. The east coast of the Marara, a predominantly African village. Don't be mad at that. That's a fact. So I salute this young man, and I commend him. The teachers at Queen's College, I commend you. Those who would have taught him at lessons, as is sometimes the case, I commend you as well. To all of you Guyanese, I bid you shalom. Do well. To the staff at 107.1 FM, to Mr. Benchop and others, I'm grateful. Shalom.
Attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm,